Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a video on the best PvP burst classes for the War Within at the moment. So a lot of people have been talking about it in my videos and streams in the past, and I was like, you know what, let's just do one of these for fun. I know with tier lists, everybody's opinions are all over the place and different, and no matter what, people are going to disagree with something. So this is going to be based off my opinion of playing a bunch of different like battleground blitzes and regular battlegrounds and stuff like that. I don't do a lot of arenas, so do keep that in mind. I know arenas like different ballpark. Each mode is different, so but yeah, these are going to be based off of pretty much. I play a bunch of different specs, so so I have a general idea on how they are compared to a bunch of different ones. Like for example, Boomkin burst versus Shadow Priest burst, for example. So I'm gonna be comparing it. I'm gonna be ranking it based off those. I'm probably gonna be doing it in mostly three categories because I got a general idea where I'm gonna rank most of them. So like I said, do keep that in mind. S tier being the best burst classes, A tier being pretty good burst, but not good enough to be an S tier because the S tier burst classes are better, and then B tier where it's more about like they're just a consistent damage class slash spec. So or spec I should say. So that's going to be how I'm ranking it. So do keep that in mind. And with that, let's go ahead and dive right into the first category. Demon Hunter is, I would say, kind of more so in the consistent-ish type of category. I would rank them more in the A because I feel like they meet more in the middle. They don't have the best burst in the game, comparing it to other burst classes, and I feel like their consistent damage is all right. Their only really burst this type of ability is I beam. They also have the hunt, but I've been playing a lot of Demon Hunter recently again, and the hunt just is not as good as it used to be. So I wouldn't really consider it like a burst ability. It technically is, but there's just so many things that are better. And I beam is like, in my opinion, the main burst for Demon Hunter at the moment. As long as you combine it with Sigil of Flame Mastery, and then in your Metamorphosis, you can do your Demon Surge burst damage. Of course, along with Essence Break as well. But yeah, I would put Demon Hunter in the middle just pretty much for those reasons. Their burst isn't good enough to be, in my opinion, S tier. Some people might disagree with me on that. That's perfectly fine, but I would meet them more in the middle because I feel like that's where they're better at compared to other burst classes that I'm going to put in the future. Up next is Boomkin. As a Boomkin main, Boomkins are the most threatening during Incarnation, which is their burst. They hit incredibly hard during their burst ability, burst, and I've hit like 3 million plus full moons. So I would put them in S tier. Their burst is incredibly scary. Like I said, it's the main time when Boomkins actually are a threat. Outside of that, I feel like Boomkin is just not really as threatening this expansion. But this is all about best burst classes, and I would put them in S tier because Boomkin's burst is the one of the most threatening in the game. Feral Druid, similar to Boomkin. I'm sure a lot of people know Feral. When they go up against Feral Druid and they pop their Incarnation and their Feral Frenzy burst, they can keep just getting those constant combo points and just get the full Ferocious Bite and just absolutely shred somebody. So that's why I'm putting them in S tier. They just have one of the stronger bursts in the game, and I'm putting them in S tier for that reason. I played a lot of Feral Druid this expansion, and you can definitely just nuke a target before they even can react sometimes. So I'm putting them in S tier for that reason. Up next is Devastation. I know I'm putting a lot of these in S tier, but Devastation, hands down, very scary. I'm sure a lot of people know about when they see a Devastation in the background, they are extremely scary, especially in team fights as well. Like their single target is definitely nothing to laugh at because they're pretty good in single target. I've definitely hit some high damage and just melted a target with their burst. But not only do they have some really incredible single target bursts, they also have some of the strongest AoE with Deep Breath in the game. I cannot tell you how many times I have seen teams die to just a Dragon Evoker AoE cleave. Even if they don't kill them, Deep Breath is nothing to laugh at because they can just stun an entire team, and then the rest of your team can just AoE them all down. And the amount of team fights I've seen either won or lost, whether I'm on the team with the Evoker or I'm playing my Evoker, and then or another Evoker does it to my team, is just crazy. Evoker is very scary for team fights, and why I'm ranking them S tier. Up next is Beast Mastery Hunter. I would put them in B tier. You can make a case for A tier, but I don't want to put everything, like I said, in one tier list because that's just what I'm trying not to do. I feel like Beast Mastery is kind of more so consistent. They do have burst, obviously. Every class technically has burst, but I feel like Beast Mastery is kind of like more so in the consistent damage category. I'm gonna make this consistent. Sorry, I cannot type. Uh, Burst, that's consistent. Huge. Whoops. Huge burst. I don't know why that went. Oh, because I clicked outside the thing. Okay. Huge burst. All right. So that's where I'm going to be putting them in different categories. I should have known that at the start, but yeah. Second category is like they have still have the burst and more consistent, but yeah, I would put Beast Mastery about more in the consistent category, and why I'm putting them there. For Survival Hunter, I would put them kind of in the same category as um, Demon Hunter. I feel like they're a mixture of both consistent and burst. I've seen a lot of Survival Hunters this expansion compared to I feel like Dragonflight, and they do some really good burst, and their consistent damage is actually pretty good. So I would put them in the second category. They're just not strong enough to compare to like Boomkin Incarnation, Feral Dread Incarnation, and Devastation Burst, in my opinion. And that's the reason why I am putting them in the second category. Marksman Hunter, they don't really have any burst at the moment. Like the only thing they have is True Shot, and that increases their haste, but they don't really have like a big burst cooldown. So I would put them kind of like more so consistent damage, and also they aren't really as amazing at the moment, anyways. So I would probably put them in the second category. You could probably put them in in the third category. You could probably make a case for them in the second category. But they don't really have any burst-ish type cooldowns. So that's the reason why I'm putting them in the third category. I just feel like they're more about consistency. And at least I play a lot of marksman, and that's the way I feel about the spec. Up next is Arcane. I don't play Arcane. I actually don't like it personally. But I've seen Arcane mages. They're not really a popular class that I see, so I can only base it off the few times I've seen them. But I have seen some Arcane mages. I feel like Arcane's kind of like one of those specs. Like if you see one, most of the time people know what they're doing. Obviously, not everybody's like that, but I've seen some Arcane mages, and they absolutely can nuke things. And that's why I am putting them in the first category. Like I said, I don't play it, but I'm kind of basing this off the ones that that versus, and they can be scary in the right hands. So that's why I'm putting them in the first category. Fire Mage, definitely all about the burst. This is pretty much the main thing that fire does damage, and fire is incredibly threatening right now. I've seen good examples like Foamy's pre-made. They're always top damage, and they just hit like a train and just absolutely melt everything. So I've seen other fire mages do the same thing. And like I said, they only really do damage, in my opinion, during their burst anyways. So that's why I'm putting them in the first category. It's kind of the same thing as Boomkin. They only really do damage during their burst phases, in my opinion. So I'm putting them in the huge burst category. Frost Mage is probably the only mage spec I have been playing this expansion. I would put them more in the middle category. I don't think they're really like the burst-ish type class, like similar to Fire and Arcane, because they can do both burst and consistent damage at the same time. So I would put them in the. They still really have a really good burst. I'm sure nobody could disagree with that, but they could still do some pretty good consistent damage even outside of that. So I'm putting them in the second category for that reason. Up next is Windwalker Monk. You can make a case for the huge burst class, but ever since I think they've lost Serenity, I think they deserve more in the second category. Just because ever since the loss of Serenity, their burst hasn't. They don't really. I feel like they don't really 100-0 as much as they used to. Like they're not bad. They still got some burst with their clones and all that stuff, but Windwalker, to me, after playing a lot of Windwalker this expansion, has pretty much turned into more of a consistent type of spec now. So I would put them more in that category. So that's the reason why I'm putting them in the second category. But you can, if you want to, you can make a case for the first category. But my personal recommendation after playing a lot of Windwalker this expansion has been in the second category. I have been playing a lot of ret recently in the past few months. I would put them in S tier. There's Rep Paladins galore everywhere in Battlegrounds, and the amount of times I've died to a Rep Paladin with their burst and stun and dying in a stun has been absolutely insane. I think Ret has a lot of burst. You could probably make a case for it in the second category, but I would recommend Ret in the first category just because the amount of Rets that could just absolutely melt you with their burst is insane. And I feel like Ret's kind of like more so about the burst than consistent, anyways. So I'm putting it in the first category for that reason. Up next is Shadow Priest. They don't really have much burst at all. I mean, they technically have burst. Like I said, every class has burst, but Shadow Priest is kind of like more so about the consistent damage, just spreading your dots, maintaining them all the time. Obviously, you got Void Eruption, Power Infusion, all that stuff. But I would put it more in the consistent category with the other specs. I've been playing a lot of Assassin Rogue, and comparing it to the other rogue specs, I would put Assassin in the second category. It does have some pretty good consistent damage, nothing too spectacular. It does have really good burst as well, which is another reason why I'm putting it in the second category. So just because I feel like it's got a mixture of both. So I feel like it deserves it in this category. You can obviously put it in this S category, but like I said, I'm trying to spread these out, comparing it to a bunch of other specs, and I think Assassin deserves to be in the second category. Outlaw, consistent damage. It's not really about the burst. Assassin and Sub have way better burst than Outlaw does. It's all about the consistent damage. So that's why I'm putting it in the consistent category. And uh, there's not really much else to it. It's kind of like RNG for the most part for the spec. I don't play a lot of Outlaw because I don't really like the spec, but I have faced a lot of Outlaw rogues. Most of the Outlaw rogues seem to be flag runners more than actually playing the spec, at least the ones I've seen. And I have the ones that I have faced, they just don't really burst as hard. So if you can burst an Outlaw rogue down, they do have better survivability, but this is all about burst damage. So I'm putting them in the consistent category. Sub Rogue is pretty much a burst spec, so it's got to obviously go in the burst category. I know some people are saying Sub is not that great right now, but Sub Rogue is literally designed to be burst spec, so that's why I'm putting it in the burst category. Even though some people say Sub Rogue still sucks, I have seen some Sub Rogues just absolutely nuke people like nobody's business. Their consistent damage outside of that completely sucks. So the only time Sub Rogue does damage is technically during their burst. So they're going in the burst category. Up next is Shaman Elemental. Um, I would put them as a huge burst. If you've seen a bunch of other YouTubers play Elemental, um, including myself, I feel like they do some really huge damage. You can absolutely shred a target with multiple lava bursts at once. And that's the reason why I'm putting them in the huge burst category. I've seen elementals just kill people in like a few seconds compared to like these other specs. Like it's not even a contest. So I'm putting them in the huge burst category for that reason. I don't play enhancement, but I've faced a bunch of enhancements recently, and their ascendants can absolutely shred people. I've been killed in like a few seconds from their ascendants. I don't think their consistent damage is also that very good, so that's why I'm putting them in the first category because their burst with ascendants is absolutely crazy. So I'm putting them in the first category for that reason. Up next is Affliction. It doesn't really have any burst. I play a lot of Affliction this expansion. It's all about the consistent damage. They do obviously hit hard, but like I said, it's not really burst. It's just about the consistent damage. So they're going in the consistent damage category. Up next is Demo Lock. I'm not really sure where to put this. I hate playing Demo. I never really play it. I never really see Demo Lock, so it's kind of hard for me to see where to place this. So I would probably put them more in the B or C tier category. I'm not really sure where I want to put this one, to be honest. I'm going to put this in the C category just because I feel like they are kind of more consistent. They do have some burst. I don't know. You could probably put this in the B or C tier. I don't know where to put demo personally. So let me know in the comment section down below because I'm sure people are probably going to disagree with me on that. But let me know where you would put that one. Up next is Destro. Destro has some really crazy bursts. I cannot tell you how many times you could probably 2 or 3 shot somebody in a battleground with Chaos Bolt, especially if you do like with the Berserker and all that. It's insane. You can hit some pretty high numbers. So I'm putting um, just Destro on the first category. And then up next is Arms Warrior. I'm going to be putting this in the B tier. And you guys are probably wondering why I am putting in the B tier because I'm comparing it to Fury Warrior, which I'm going to be putting in the A tier. Fury Warrior with Death Wish, in my opinion, has the best burst in the game. Like I think out of every spec, and some people might disagree with me on this, Death Wish Fury has probably the best burst in the game, and I'm comparing it to Arms Warrior, which Arms Warrior has some pretty good burst. I think they have some pretty good consistent damage as well. I've seen some Arms Warrior still do good damage even without their burst. So I'm putting Arms in the B tier and Fury in the S tier, just because like I'm comparing it to these two. I just feel like it's way better. And I'm gonna do the same thing with Death Knight. I think Frost DK is just all about the burst. Like everybody knows, like Frost TK, it's just designed to be burst. Outside of that, their damage is kind of like not really that amazing. So they have some pretty good burst. And then Unholy DK has some pretty decent damage outside of their cooldowns compared to Frost. And they do have some pretty good burst as well. So that's why I'm ranking them in the B category. Anyways, this is it for the video. Let me know what you guys think of my choices. Some people are going to obviously disagree with me, and that's perfectly fine. Let me know what you guys think of the video, and I'll see you guys later.